Now I gotta ride or die.
So guys, welcome back to today's video. As you can see by the title, we have a glorious 106 GTI with us today. Now you may or may not remember this car was actually the 106 GTI that we went and picked up my cherry red 106 GTI up in, a couple of years ago now, maybe 3 years ago. We were actually in this car on the way to pick up my 106 GTI. We built that for the channel. Got let down quite a lot on that car, and it never was the car I wanted it to be. This though, this is unfortunately for sale, and I wanted to take it out for sort of a last drive because the owner has owned this for pretty much nearly 14 years at this point. So 13-14 years this has been in the ownership of the guy that owns it now. Now unfortunately for me, it's for sale. I've grown up around this car. When I was 20 years old, I remember this car absolutely just out there kicking everyone's ass on B roads, dual carriageways. This was the car, mainly because it was completely stock. Now we are, again, today, 13-14 years on, working with what is in theory a completely stock 106 GTI in Diablo Red. And I thought I'd take it out for, you know, a review, understand why I love these cars so much, because if there is ever an opportunity to drive a 106 GTI, I'm going to take it, and it sort of explain to you guys why you should be going out there to buy one of these at the moment. They are going up in price. I bought mine for £1,000, spent way more than I should have on it, and this one is no exception. It has had absolutely everything done to it, and for me this is easily the best 106 GTI I have ever driven, because of a few very simple things that have been done to this. One being that the owner has just cherished it. He's enjoyed it, used it, but kept up with absolutely everything that's needed. Yes, it's been off the road a few times, COVID, he's got a Clio Williams, various things like that have happened, but it has always been maintained properly and kept as is. And as you can see by today's view, mate, does it get any better than that? A little 106 GTI in probably one of the best colours, well set up with the British hills behind us, with British B roads, ready to go and enjoy this thing, which we will do in this video, but we will start with a walk round. Now again, sorry, I'm going to be very passionate in this video about this car, because again, it has been around as long as my cherry red one had been around. It has been the subsequent sister car to it in theory, and thankfully we got these cars together way back when. Yeah, it's for sale, which it pains me not to just, I'll buy it straight away, but you know, life goes on, we need to do other things. So it is up for grabs. If you guys are interested at all in this car, there is a link in the description. I know the owner, I know the car. It is a fantastic bit of kit, this, and it'd be sad to see it go. So Diablo Red 106 GTI on the RH, 160,000 miles on this one. I will admit it looks like it doesn't have the mileage on it. It's just come out of the body shop because there's a few paint corrections it needed, bonnet, various other little bits and bobs, but it's all been done, so it is in that state. And I said to the owner, can I just take it as is, because I'm probably not going to get a chance to, with the weather, with things happening, I'm not going to get another chance to actually shoot this car. So here we are. It does need a clean, it needs various bits and bobs doing, it is getting there, but it's for sale and it is pretty much ready to go, bar a few things that the owner is doing at the moment. But the Diablo Red works so well with the stock wheels, in my opinion. Again, this is a pretty much standard car, so what you're seeing is what you get on this one. But the couple of modifications it does have are fantastic and very expensive Bilstein suspension that has transformed this car from, yes, a B-road basher into something that you can attack any corner at pretty much any speed you fancy, and it will go round very, very happily. It also has a completely standard exhaust system, manifold, and airbox, which, if you know your 106s, if you know cars from this era, RS turbos, everything like that, the airboxes are so expensive at the moment, they're getting out of control. So to have a car that has its own airbox, the very airbox it left the factory with, is pretty much unheard of these days. Slightly lowered over the factory ride height with the Bilstein suspension. It also does have solid engine mounts. Now this is a very, very good talking point, because I remember when the owner did this, and I thought at the time, you know, why would you do that? After driving mine and then subsequently driving this and a VTR and a VTS very, very recently, this drives and feels so right to go in the gears. That's not me just saying that, because it's been cared for, because it's been modified in such a way, it just feels so right. As you can see, bodywork is in fantastic condition. Few things have been painted recently, but that's needed on one of these older French cars. You need to keep up with these just to make sure they're kept as is. Standard wheels in silver. The plastics need to be done, but again, I said to the owner, can I just take it as is? Don't worry about it. It's just come out the body shops. A little bit of dust here and there, especially in the engine bay. But I was just like, mate, can I just take it? I really want to go and shoot this thing as soon as I can. New badges are going on as well, just to keep that OEM look. Even down to the silly things like there's the standard wiper on the back. And I said this recently on a VTR video, and people were like, what are you on about? Standard equipment's obvious on one of these cars. You do not see standard equipment like the rear wiper, because everyone took them off. So to find one with a rear wiper is, again, genuinely hard to find these days. And I know it sounds so silly, but simple things like this. As we come into the boot, the parcel shelf has not been cut. That is a clear sign of a mature owner that has not put 6x9s into the parcel shelf. Do you see where I'm going with this car? It is just the most lovely thing. Inside, we don't have the leather and Alcantara interior. It has these cloth seats, which are so comfy. And yes, it does need a slight clean inside, but it's getting used. It's just come out of a body shop. Will be done before the sale. Completely standard interior, bar the little radio that's just there. It actually still has a CD in there from like the mid 2000s, I think, which is hilarious. But if you actually drive cars and you understand what these cars are like inside nowadays, the room, the space, the comfort, the drivability, the ease of actually owning one of these is just so good. And again, I actually drove and daily drove mine actually for years when I had mine, so I know full well what they're capable of. Even these days, they will keep up with anything on the road. I think these are so capable, these cars. But we will get on the road, we will go and enjoy this thing. Slightly bittersweet day today because I get to drive one of my favourite cars ever, but it's for sale and I know I'm not going to buy it. But anyway, let's get on the road, see what this lovely thing is like to drive. Now, the drive of a 106 GTI is one of those things that if you've never really done, if you've never been around, if you're maybe not from the UK, you've never experienced this car, you know, if you're US based, you know, you won't get how good these cars feel. This one, I must say, is probably one of the best I've ever driven because it is pretty much completely standard. There is a standard airbox up front. There is a standard exhaust system that I've already spoken about. It is quiet. It is genuinely refined in here for a, you know, late 90s, early 2000s French product. It is actually genuinely a nice place to be. Here's why. My one had been pulled apart, it had the bodywork done, it had loads of stuff done to it, but it had been undone and done up and multiple times in and out. This one has had none of that. It has not been taken apart, it has not had crazy rust repairs, it hasn't had anything that's meant that the car had to be taken apart and then put back together multiple times. And that's even going back to when these cars were cheap. I remember when I was, you know, 19, 20 years old, this car hurtling up a certain dual carriageway on the Isle of Wight, chasing down pretty much everything because it was the only standard one. It felt faster, it felt more on point. It now has some really good, nice tyres on it, and it has Bilstein suspension with solid engine mounts. Now, that may sound like a really small recipe, but my God, the amount of grip this car has, the flat cornering it has, and the ability for you to attack any B road at any speed you fancy, bearing in mind it is still an old French car and the back will come out when it wants to. Right round to 7,000 RPM, up into fourth. Pure bliss in here. I absolutely love this car. I love 106s. I love the feeling that they give you. This one is up there with one of the best, and I'm not just saying that. I have driven them all. I have probably owned them all as well. I've owned all of the crappy French cars. I have driven some rather funny, put together French cars. This one is the most sorted one I have ever driven. It puts the biggest smile on my face, yes, because it has a personal collection, but the reality is it's been looked after. The owner has had it for years. He put a good fair mileage on it. It's got 160k on it at the moment, which it's up to you whether that's high mileage or not. Mine had 150. It did not feel half of what this car is. It is the best 106 GTI I've ever driven, because it is unmolested in a sense. Yes, it has suspension and engine mount upgrades, but other than that, it is as it left the factory, and I love that. I love that this car is like that. It does pull up serious dilemmas in your head though as to why we all don't have one of these tucked away ready for a summer session on the B roads, because it feels like nothing else. And I've recently done a VTR, and that was a very, very different car. It had modifications, it had an exhaust. It was, you know, owned by a younger gentleman. It didn't feel like this though, because I know the story of this car. I feel it. I feel how this car is. It reminds me of 20-year-old me driving one of these for the first time and realizing that they were so on point. This is that car still. It is still a standard form 106 GTI, and nothing feels like this car. Nothing feels like this. 182s don't feel like this. VTS, yes, do feel like this, but not this one. It's hard for me to put into perspective for you guys that are watching this video as to how good this car drives. It's just, you have to take my word for it. From someone that has driven all of the French cars, tried to own all of them as well, this is just how they all should be set up. They all should feel like this. And as I've already said, it's for sale. I'm trying not to buy it because it has no need to be on my channel, but it needs to be in my life at the same time. I've already done the 106 thing. We've already rebuilt one. It, you know, went okay, I think. You know, let down here and there by people, but this one hasn't had that, and it doesn't need it. That's the main thing. It doesn't need that. I don't know, there's that saving. It needs just someone driving it. It needs someone keeping up with it, enjoying it. It's such a shame I'm making this video though, because this is the last video I actually wanted to do in this car. I didn't want to say it's for sale from an owner that's had it that long. It's been cared for, it's been cherished, but he's got other things to do in life, and I appreciate that. I appreciate it down to the ground. I understand why you'd get rid of a car like this. It's just a shame, mate, it really is, and I'd love to lock this away and just keep it. Not drive it, yes, but lock it away and hold on to it forever. And I know it's going to sell straight away. It's not expensive in my opinion for 106s. It is competitively priced in the market in my opinion. It will not last long. I hate that I'm making this video and knowing full well I'm not taking it home, but that's just the way the world works. You've got to grow up at some point, I suppose. But anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. This is a real personal car for me, as you can probably tell by this video. Tried to make it really, really nice. Tried to make it, you know, something I'm proud of, because I'm driving this probably for the last time, probably the last time I'm going to see it as well, which is such a shame, because something that's been in your life for this long, like I've seen it in and out, you know, maybe I haven't seen it for a year or so, but then I've seen it going, oh, there's FAP, the 106 GTI that used to demolish everything on the B roads and up the dual carriageway and stuff. Yeah, it's a bit of a shame really. I wish I could buy it and just hold on to it forever, but you know, it's just how it is. But thank you so much for watching. If you are interested in this car, there's a link to the for sale of this in the description. Buy it before I do. You will not regret it. It is just the most well-sorted 106 GTI I've ever driven. And for one last blast, thank you so much for watching, guys. We'll see you on the next one.